I never imagined that a simple family dinner could completely upend my fate, but it all started because of a drawing. A drawing that my 4-year-old daughter Sophia created in kindergarten and which unexpectedly ended up on our kitchen table. I came home from the office, exhausted and frustrated as always. The office chaos, endless emails, analytics, meetings. It felt like I'd spent the whole day spinning in a wheel without realizing how I was wasting my years. When I stepped into the house, Sophia, as usual, ran to the door with a beaming smile and exclaimed, "Dad, look what I drew." She tossed the sheet onto the surface and I automatically smiled. The picture showed our family, me, Sophia, and her mom, but there was something unusual in the composition. Sophia had drawn Mom next to a stranger man. It wasn't me. I gripped the paper tightly, my pulse quickening. At first, I thought it was just a child's fantasy. Kids draw all sorts of nonsense. But Sophia pointed to the elements. Mom was holding the bearded man's hand, and they were laughing together while I was pushed into the corner with a sad expression. "Sophia, who's that with Mom?" I asked carefully. My daughter stared at me in confusion, as if the question was absurd. "That's him, Dad, the one Mom likes more than you." I froze. The child's words thundered like a lightning strike on a clear day. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. I tried to convince myself that it was just a product of a child's imagination, that my wife would never betray our marriage. But an inner voice whispered that Sophia had spoken the truth. In the morning, I started watching my wife, Emma. She had always seemed perfect to outsiders, friends, and even to me. But now I noticed details: secret phone conversations, messages she hastily deleted, late returns from work under dubious pretexts. I tried to discuss it openly. "Emma, I saw Sophia's drawing. Is this real?" She laughed, trying to mask her annoyance. "What drawing? Darling, it's just a child's whim. Sophia draws whatever comes to mind. Don't blow it out of proportion." But her eyes betrayed more than her words. There was worry in them, fear, perhaps remorse. A chill ran through my body. At work, I functioned like an automaton. The idea of my wife's infidelity wouldn't let go. Every call, every notification, every message seemed suspicious. I started searching for evidence. And I found it. It wasn't photos or notes. I hadn't discovered those yet, but I stumbled upon a conversation on her tablet left at home. First, I saw an unfamiliar name, Lucas. The text seemed innocent at first glance, jokes, compliments, but between the lines, something deeper emerged. They mocked my jokes that I didn't know about. They exchanged virtual hugs. I felt reality collapsing. I sat in the kitchen, clutching the gadget, while Sophia played nearby, unaware that her drawing had uncovered the whole truth. I tried to breathe evenly, but my heart was pounding. "Dad, what's wrong?" Sophia asked, hopping over. "Nothing, sweetie," I replied, trying to smile, but the smile came out fake. That night, I stayed awake. I pondered how to explain the truth to my daughter, how to talk to my wife, how to save at least a shred. But most tormenting was the thought: how long has this been going on? In the morning, I chose a cautious tactic. I began collecting confirmations, not for revenge, but to understand. Could our marriage survive? I noticed that Emma had become more careful with her device. She locked the screen as soon as I approached. I installed a camera in the living room. Every evening, returning from work, I reviewed the footage, and after a couple of days, everything became clear. Lucas wasn't a business partner, not an old friend, but someone she met secretly. They didn't hide only because they thought I was oblivious. I realized it was time to choose: stay in the marriage, pretending nothing happened, or leave and shield Sophia from future pain. But the choice seemed impossible. In the evening, when Emma arrived with a bouquet, I said, "We need to talk." She looked at me in surprise. "About what exactly?" "About us," I replied calmly, "and about how Sophia knows more than I expected." That conversation changed everything. At first, Emma denied it, yelled, tried to convince me I was imagining things. But I showed her the drawing, the chat, the evidence. Tears and screams, accusations and excuses all merged together. I understood there was no going back. In the kitchen, where Sophia had once created that drawing, I felt loneliness for the first time in a long while. I looked at my daughter playing in the corner and realized my primary goal was to protect her. And though my soul was tearing apart, I began planning how to move forward. How to endure the betrayal, keep my daughter, restore at least a fragment of normalcy. The morning after that stormy night was cold and empty. Emma left early for work, and I stayed with Sophia. I tried to play with her, laugh, pretend everything was fine, but every glance from my daughter reminded me that the structure I'd built was crumbling. I sat on the sofa with a cup of tea, scrolling through photos of our past trips, and each frame was like a stab to the heart. Sophia's laughter, her tiny hands clinging to my fingers, all of it now seemed painfully distant. One thought swirled in my mind. I needed to act. I couldn't passively wait while Emma decided whether to leave or not. My daughter deserved honesty and protection. In the evening, I didn't leave to talk with Emma. When she entered, I was waiting at the door, trying to control myself. "We need a serious conversation," I said evenly. "I'm tired of these conversations," she replied wearily, tossing her bag on the floor. "Nothing will change anyway." "Do you understand me?" I leaned toward her, trying not to let my voice tremble. "This isn't about your fatigue. This is about Sophia. She already knows." Her pupils dilated, but she quickly composed herself. "What does she know?" she asked warily. I pulled out the drawing and placed it in front of her. "Everything she drew is true. You with Lucas, and she notices it." Emma froze. At first her face showed no emotions, just silence. Then a slight exhale, almost a mutter. You showed this to her." "I didn't show her anything," I countered, suppressing rage. "But she understands, and I won't let this ruin her early years." That evening turned into a disaster. Screams, sobs, accusations. Emma tried to justify herself, explain that it was a mistake, that she still cared for me, that Lucas meant nothing to her. But I saw the truth in her eyes. "If you continue this lie," I said evenly, "I'll leave. But I won't abandon Sophia in this." In the morning, I began preparing for the worst. I found a lawyer, inquired about parental rights, about potential custody. Every word, every document served as a shield against the agony that now filled my soul. Meanwhile, Sophia asked, "Dad, will Mom come home today?" "Yes, sweetie," I replied, hugging her. "But sometimes adults make mistakes and we need to be strong." Every look from her was like a blade. I realized that my daughter felt the crack that even I couldn't mend. After a few days, Emma tried to rebuild the connection. She claimed she regretted it, wanted to fix everything, was ready to fight for the marriage. But I couldn't rely on promises. Then I chose a different method. Monitor, document, wait. Every action of hers, every detail, everything was recorded. I didn't intend to destroy the family forcibly, but I had to prepare for any turn. And then came the first unexpected episode. Lucas started bombarding her with messages, with warnings. They wanted Emma to leave me, but she, instead of telling me, hid it. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked when I saw the chat. I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid you'd leave." I realized the game was just unfolding. This Lucas wasn't just a lover, he aimed to ruin our marriage. And now we were in the center of a hidden battle. One night in the dark, I heard a rustle in the hallway. I approached the door and saw someone trying to pick the lock. My pulse jumped. I called the police. When they arrived, the suspicious figure had vanished, leaving only a scent of cologne and a sense of danger. "That's Lucas," I thought, understanding that now this wasn't just betrayal. It was a threat to our home. Sophia and I began living differently. Every morning started with checking the house. I changed the locks, monitored connections. My daily life turned into constant anxiety. And it was during that period that I learned love isn't just pleasure, but also defense. Defense against pain, dangers, treachery. And I was ready for a lot to ensure Sophia didn't experience betrayal firsthand. The second chapter of our story was ending. I stood by the window, gazing at the evening city, and realized that more trials lay ahead. The pain of treachery, worry for my daughter, and uncertainty, all of it was just the prologue. Several weeks had passed since I uncovered the truth. Emma pretended she wanted to make up for her mistakes, and Sophia increasingly asked about Mom with anxiety in her voice. I felt trapped. I wanted to save the marriage, but I understood that trust was undermined. One evening, when Sophia was already asleep, I sat alone in the living room, flipping through old photos. I came across a picture from our wedding. In it, Emma was laughing, and I remembered that we were once happy. But happiness now seemed like a mirage. At that moment, I received a message from an anonymous sender. "If you want to keep the marriage, shut up. Otherwise, everyone will find out." My pulse quickened. I understood that someone was spying on us. Lucas probably wasn't acting alone. From then on, every movement of Emma and Sophia seemed under surveillance. In the morning, I decided to have a conversation with Emma. "You have to tell me everything," I said directly. I'm trying to be honest," she replied, "but it's hard." Then I took her by the wrist and showed Sophia's drawing. "She already knows, and if you want to fix something, start with yourself." Panic flashed in her eyes. She realized the deception was exposed, and hiding further was pointless. At work, I also started noticing anomalies. Colleagues gave sidelong glances, and management asked about personal matters. It seemed the news about Emma and Lucas had spread faster than I thought. One evening, I heard scratching at the window. I approached and saw the silhouette of a man lurking in the shadows. My breath caught. I called the authorities. After the incident, I realized that Sophia and I were in danger. I chose decisive measures. I installed surveillance in the house, recorded all calls and texts from Emma. Every action of hers was documented, so that if necessary, I could protect Sophia. After a few days, Emma confessed herself. "I can't lie anymore. He insisted I leave, but I didn't leave. Her voice trembled. "I care about you, but I made a mistake." I listened in silence. Affection still lingered, but the betrayal had left a scar. In the morning, I contacted a lawyer to find out how to protect my daughter. I needed to understand. Could I prohibit Emma's contact with Lucas if she tried to hide again? In the evenings, Sophia often asked for stories to draw. And every time she picked up crayons, I saw in her eyes a reflection of the innocence I was trying to preserve at any cost. But one day I noticed a new drawing. It showed the family, me, Sophia, and Emma, but on the side stood another man whom Sophia had carefully labeled Lucas. I felt reality collapsing again. "Soph, why is he here?" I asked quietly. "Mom said he's my friend," she replied innocently. I understood. My daughter had been told about the stranger who should have remained a secret. Lucas had invaded her early years, and I couldn't tolerate it. I gathered evidence, chats, drawings, messages. Each confirmation was a piece in the barrier protecting my daughter. And then Emma tried to meet me one-on-one. She begged. "Let's try again. I'm ready to tell everything." I looked at her and wondered, could I trust a person who had once ruined our child's world? I realized that affection was still alive, but the betrayal had left deep scars. A month later, the situation escalated. Lucas started sending threats via phone and apps. I turned to the authorities and hired security for the house. Every day became a battle for Sophia's well-being. It was at that moment that I understood. Sometimes affection isn't enough to save a marriage. You need not only to love, but also to be ready to fight for those you value. In the end, I made a difficult decision: limit interactions with Emma until she proved her sincerity. Affection remains, but trust is a separate chapter. I held Sophia's hand and realized, the future of our little family depends only on me. And though my soul aches, though reality is crumbling, I won't let betrayal ruin my daughter's early years. With each day, the tension grew. Sophia increasingly asked about Mom and the friend from the drawings. Every time I saw her looking at me with eyes full of trust and tenderness, I felt that my mission was to shield her from a reality that can sometimes be merciless. One evening, I arranged a conversation with Emma. I needed to understand if she had the desire to make up for her mistakes, or if it was just an effort to stay in the routine. "Emma," I began, "I gave you a chance, but Sophia sees more than we think. Every word of yours, every action is under control. Are you ready for honesty? She paused for a moment, then nodded. I want to fix everything. I care about Sophia and about you, but I know trust is undermined. We began recording conversations, documenting meetings. Every step was a step toward proofs, toward an effort to restore at least a bit of stability. But a week later, a new message came from Lucas. You can't control her. She's my world. I felt a chill in my chest. This individual had invaded our daily life and now threatened to ruin everything I was trying to hold together. I started examining all of Sophia's drawings, old and new. Each image, each character, was a tiny hint that my daughter left, sometimes subconsciously. I realized that Sophia had already tried to signal to me about Lucas's presence in our world. That evening I installed a camera in Sophia's room, and again I saw a suspicious silhouette at the window. My pulse raced. Someone was spying on us. I contacted the lawyer and demanded to quickly prepare papers for prohibiting Emma's contact with Lucas. I needed to protect my daughter. The following days became a true nightmare. Lucas didn't stop sending threats. Emma tried to influence me, and Sophia innocently looked at what was happening, not understanding the scale of the disaster. One day, I returned and found Emma in the living room with a stack of old notes. She began revealing the truth. Lucas, he pressured me, she said quietly. I didn't want Sophia to suffer, but I was afraid. I listened and realized that affection still lingered, but the betrayal had left deep scars. After a few days, the situation reached its climax. Lucas showed up at our door. I called the guards, but he managed to escape. Sophia saw the figure and screamed, and I realized I couldn't delay harsh steps any longer. I filed a lawsuit in court, prohibited Emma's contact with Lucas. I needed to build a barrier for my daughter and myself. Affection remained, but trust had evaporated. The nights turned into horror. I didn't sleep, constantly monitoring recordings, texts. Every rustle outside the window, every call, a potential danger. Sophia asked, Dad, will everything be okay? Everything will be okay, I replied, though I doubted it myself. A month after the incident, Emma tried to reconnect with her daughter. I allowed a meeting, but under supervision. Sophia clung to her mom, but in her eyes I saw skepticism. The climactic episode happened in the evening. We sat at the table. Sophia was drawing. I watched her shine. At that moment I understood, even if affection returns, betrayal leaves a mark that doesn't erase. Dad, Sophia said, I want us to be happy. I took her hand. We will be, I said quietly, but sometimes happiness requires losses. And I understood the harsh truth. Sometimes affection and trust are incompatible. You can love, you can try to forget, but the echo of betrayal remains forever. I held Sophia's hand, looked at the drawings on the table, and realized that I would protect her at any cost. Affection exists, but trust is gone. Reality is torn, but someone has to maintain a tiny stronghold of stability for the child. And let it be hard, let the soul tear apart, but Sophia will be safe, and that's the only thing that matters. Several weeks had passed after the proceedings. Emma tried to reconnect with Sophia, but now all our meetings were under strict control. I saw how my daughter gradually returned to routine, shone, drew, laughed. But in her eyes, there would never again be that absolute trustfulness as before. Every evening I sat in the kitchen alone. The silence in the house wasn't peace, it was the echo of changes. Relief and agony mixed within me. I had won the battle but lost the war of trust. One day, Sophia approached me with a new drawing. The sheet showed our family, me, her, a puppy on the sofa. But next to Mom stood a stranger figure labeled Lucas. She stared at me with eyes full of questions. Dad, who is this? I grabbed the paper and took a deep breath. This is just someone who hindered our happiness, I said, trying to hide the moisture in my eyes. She nodded as if understanding. I realized that through drawings, my daughter communicated with me deeper than with words, and in those strokes and shades lay all the pain we had endured. On those days, I understood that affection and trust are different entities. You can love even after betrayal, but trust can fade forever. I started a journal to note every significant event, every word from Sophia. I wanted to preserve her innocence while she could still believe in good. And though my soul was tearing into pieces, I realized, my goal is to protect the child, even if it means leaving a part of myself in the past. Sometimes I caught myself thinking that I wished for a different outcome. I wished Emma could be sincere, that Lucas had never invaded our world, that Sophia had never seen the pain that the adult world brings. But the adult world doesn't spare children's dreams. It destroys them with small, imperceptible pushes, lies, treachery, deceit. And yet, when I saw Sophia shining, I understood. Even in a reality full of betrayal, there are corners of light. My daughter is my light. I will hold on to her as long as I have the strength. I closed the journal. A gentle evening ray broke through the window. Everything around reminded me of losses and mistakes, of what we can't return to the past. But we can build at least tiny fragments of tomorrow. And let it be hard. Let the soul tear apart. But affection for the child is what gives the strength to move forward, even when trust is torn, when reality collapses, and the past weighs on the shoulders. I looked at Sophia, at her drawings, at the puppy sleeping nearby. I understood we still have life. It won't be perfect, but it will be ours. And that's the only thing that matters.